What is up, IDP Army? It is your man, Jordan Rains, at 50 Shades of Drunk, the Cardi B of IDP, your fearless leader. And I'm joined here by my right-hand man, Billy Manziel. How you doing, Bill?
Doing good. It's Mickey Blanco week, and I couldn't be more excited.
Mickey Blanco gave it to Joe Burrow and the boys this week. If you don't know, Mickey Blanco is our pet name for the man, the myth, the legend, Mike White, who went out, put up 400 plus yards on Halloween, got a little spooky for the Jets. All right, we're going to do something different today on the show. We are going to do a midseason review, risers and fallers, offense, defense. We're going to talk a little bit about the awards, how the season's going. And we're going to talk fantasy football because that's what we do around here. So let's get it popping.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
All right, so before we get into the rises and fallers midseason, let's just talk about the major bullet points from this week, today, whatever you want to call it. We have several to get to. I'm going to throw a few out, and we'll just kind of give our first takes, our thoughts, our impressions. So we have Derrick Henry. Looks like he's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks with a broken foot bone. We have Von Miller getting traded from the Denver Broncos to the LA Rams. We have Mickey Blanco himself, Mike White, going out and doing something Zach Wilson has not shown the ability to do.
No Jets quarterback since 2000 has done, by the way.
And just to add insult to injury, Joe Flacco's there now. So we got to deal with all the – I mean, it's just a circus. It's a circus show, but we are pro Mickey Blanco here on this show.
Hell yeah.
For the brand. So ride with us. What other big news do we have, really? We have Adrian Peterson maybe looking to – he is signing.
He's signed. He's on the practice squad.
The Titans, so we'll see what comes of that. Any other big news from the weekend?
I mean, pretty big news. Calvin Ridley taking a step away from football to deal with his mental health, which we wish all the best for him. I really hope that he can work out through whatever he's going through right now.
Yeah, unfortunate, really unfortunate. And, it really mirrors the situation. The way I'm viewing it is kind of the way I think it will go down. I don't like it this way, but it's similar to Josh Gordon and Martavis Bryant, where, maybe they had stigmas around them where it had to do with cannabis and like addiction issues, but it was still rooted in mental health issues and mental health awareness. So we've seen guys struggle with this and not come back from it. It sucks for a fantasy perspective, but we're rooting for him. Hope he can beat it. Jameis Winston suffers torn ACL. That really sucked as well. Another really kind of big piece of news over the weekend. Taysom Hill left the concussion. Trevor Siemian came in, beat Tom Brady and the Bucs. Wild stuff.
Tom Brady slept walk through that game.
Cooper Rush goes out and has a game of the ages. The dude was dealing. I mean, he was dealing. If you watch that game, he did not. At one point, I think in the third or fourth quarter, Collinsworth or the other guy was talking. He said he doesn't look like hasn't played football in a while. Like, he didn't. I mean, every throw was with authority. It was great placement with some zip on it, accurate, and they won the game. Flat out, plain and simple. The defense didn't give them, a whole lot of help. Trevon Diggs did okay, but near the end of the game, he got injured. They did limit the Vikings from scoring, but it really did. They did win on the back of that offense, doing what it needed to do, what it needed to get done. So, Danielle Hunter, also, this is an IDP thing. Looks like he suffered a torn pec. He's probably going to miss the rest of the season, I would imagine. So,
I also Malik Harrison for the Ravens was shot in the leg while out at a party this weekend during the bye week. Everybody needs to stay safe during these byes. Don't know if you saw that one or not, but
I did not.
Yeah, he was a rookie last year, third round. Not very consequential for this year in IDP, but it's still, something relevant to note.
Yeah, not what you want to see. So we got the end of this week coming up. We have the New York Giants playing the Chiefs tonight. But we wanted to quickly, or not really quickly, but we wanted to do a different show today. I'd usually do the waiver wire show today, and I'll still do some waiver wire stuff later. But we want to really talk about how this season has been going writ large. I feel like what I'm noticing is there's really not a lot of super dominant teams. There's a lot of 4-3, 3-4 teams. And even if you're one of the teams that's not on the upper hand of that, that's not that far off from being middle of the pack, even if you are 2-5 or whatever. So I think there's still a lot of hope for people out there, but it's time to have a frank discussion about what this season is compared to what we thought it would be and what seasons past have been. So we were going to do that today, talk about the leaderboards at wide receiver, running back, wider, all the positions essentially, talk about our awards for this season. So defensive player of the year, offensive player of the year, things like that. So if you are here joining us in the live chat, we'll do our best to answer some questions. Shout out to the Fantasy Football Futurist. He's in here. And yeah, if you're listening on the podcast form, leave us a thumbs up, a subscribe to Apple iTunes, whatever you're listening to. Same thing with YouTube. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, etc. So let's go ahead and start with the award ceremony. We were talking before we came on. Let's just talk NFL MVP. My vote right now is on Josh Allen. I know that yesterday, they were in a competitive game, but he has not shown any signs of not being just as good as he was last year. And he's doing it without having Stephon Diggs, be this gaudy alpha wide receiver one. Like, he's doing it himself. He's showing that the production runs through Josh Allen ultimately. He's doing it on the ground. He's getting the wins. They're cruising right now. They look very dominant. My money's on him to win. I know there's some people still in the Kyler camp. If you're looking on DK Sportsbook right now, Josh Allen is the favorite, plus 250. Kyler's plus 600. He has the second best odds, tied with Matthew Stafford and Tom Brady. I would have given Derrick Henry pretty good odds.
That would have been my pick
before he went on or got injured. So, but what are your thoughts? Who do you think the NFL MVP will be at the end of the season?
Well, before I say it, you know what's crazy about Derrick Henry? He got hurt early in that game and still rushed 26 more times after getting that foot injury. That's going to cost him the season. He is just not human. I would not be surprised if he could just go ahead and he could have probably played through this foot injury, but they're going to need him for the playoffs. So I understand why it makes more sense to go get that now. I don't really have a dominant MVP yet. I'm still going to give it to Kyler Murray. I know that you have your beef with Kyler Murray, but the Cardinals and what they're able to do, without him on that team, I don't think that they would be able to succeed. And I think if you took Josh Allen off the Bills on the strength of that defense, I still think that they would be a good team, not a great team. But if Mitch Trubisky was out there, I'm still thinking they're winning probably most of the games that they're playing, even without him. So for that reason, I got to put it on Kyler Murray currently, because without him, that team would not be very good.
That's fair. I guess. We'll see where we are at the end of the season. I'm going to keep my money on Josh Allen. Some of the auxiliary stats may not be quite as good, but Kyler has 7 interceptions, 18 sacks compared to Josh Allen's 3 and 8. And I know, he has more wins, but he's still the quarterback, and he still has put his team in bad position several more times than Josh Allen has.
I'd say if they got the number 1 seed in the AFC, which is much in play right now. By the way, nobody wants to win the AFC, it appears. Everybody who gets to be first place loses the very next week. The Ravens got it, and then they lost to the Bengals. Bengals had it, and then they lost to the Jets. So, and now it's I think it's the Raiders are number 2. And I forgot who's number 1. Oh, it's the Titans. The Titans are number 1 in the AFC right now. Then they just lost Derrick Henry. So I don't think any team in the AFC particularly wants to win. The Bills, this will be the good opportunity maybe for them to take the number 1 seed. And I say if he does lead them to that, I could see how Josh Allen would be the MVP.
Fair. All right, let's switch gears. Let's talk about the defensive player of the year. Right now, the leader on DK Sportsbook, Myles Garrett plus 300, TJ Watt plus 400, Trevon Diggs plus 500, Aaron Donald plus 800, and then it drops down pretty far. Yeah, Max Crosby and then Jalen Ramsey both plus 2,500. Who you got out of those top 4? Who do you think deserves it? And then
it's TJ Watt. Myles Garrett, while I'm a huge Browns fan, so obviously I love Myles Garrett, and he's been very good this season. I would say the stats kind of heavily skewed one particular game against Justin Fields, but I think it's TJ Watt because consistently he makes the plays that lead that team to victory, to seal wins, like what he did against Seattle in that game, tackling Geno Smith. I just like he's the one that is causing that team to win. So I don't know how you can't give it to him. Myles Garrett is not causing the Browns to win. Like they're still getting absolutely torched on defense. And how can you be the defensive player on the year in a bad defense?
Fair. Yeah, on 303 defensive snaps, TJ Watt, 8.5 sacks, ties the league. And I think it's important to note he has had his bye week, and he missed a game due to injury, and he played 16 snaps in another game. 8.5 sacks, second most in the league, 8 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles, 3 passes defended, 3 fumble recoveries, and like you said, multiple game-winning plays. So he's kind of my favorite right now too, just because even with the missed time, he's still causing more disruption than anybody, really. Now, the pressure number is a little bit lower, but he's also played 303 snaps. The guys that are, have more sacks than him, these guys are playing, some of them almost 200 more snaps than he has on the season.
Yeah.
So that's multiple games of production that TJ Watt has not had a chance to be on the field that these guys have had. And he's still wrecking the league. So he's my bet as well. Obviously, I think he should have won it the last 2 years. Aaron Donald got last. He's out there. He's making a statement. If nothing else,
well, it's not going to be Trayvon Diggs. Can we just get rid of that? Like he
needed to get
interception.
If he would have gotten an interception on last night's game, I think the conversation would have still be a little bit higher. But yeah, it's not going to be.
It's a very fluky play. It's not like he's covering so incredibly to where, like, it's not like Stephon Gilmore, who I know he probably shouldn't have won 2 years ago, but he's not Stephon Gilmore. Like, if we're comparing defensive backs, like, and what Stephon Gilmore was able to do versus what Trayvon Diggs is doing now, it's not, in my opinion, even remotely the same. He just happens to be intercepting the ball, which I think it should be said, if a quarterback feels comfortable enough to throw to your side of the field that many times for you to get the interception, they're not throwing on good cornerbacks that they don't think they can get the ball past. That's all I'm saying.
Fair. All right, let's switch gears to offensive rookie of the year. Jamar Chase right now, odds are minus 140. He's pretty much the far and away the leader. Mac Jones plus 300. Then it drops down big, plus 1,000 Najee, and then plus 3,000 Trevor Lawrence. Funny that
it's Jamar Chase.
It's usually a quarterback award.
Yeah,
traditionally, or a running back award. Jamar Chase he's making such a big difference. And he's doing it consecutive weeks so that the buildup is there and it's continued. It's not like he's showing up and not showing up. I know he let people down a little bit this last week, but he still did enough on the field.
Caught his touchdown. That's all that mattered.
Exactly. It's not going to take away from the overall argument. I don't think there's a lot to debate with that one.
Plus, the Jets have a good defense. I think that needs to be said. Like it's not great, but the pieces that they have in it is, they got some guys.
They can make plays, yeah. I don't know about how they are as an absolute unit necessarily, but they do have some playmakers. Quinnen Williams, I think, is massively underrated as just an overall disruptive force in any game. CJ Mosley had some big plays yesterday, but their cornerbacks are definitely not the best.
Before we move on from the rookie part, because this quarterback class has been god awful so far. Like Mac Jones happened to end up on a pretty good team.
This was supposed to be the best one. I just want to bring to light for all the people that claim that they can QB scout and that they're demigods and that all that stuff really matters for fantasy football. This was supposed to be the chosen quarterback class. This was supposed to be the one where you plug all these guys in week one and you just cruise to dubs.
Exactly. And I've already started to see next year, like, people like, oh, this class is going to be awful. Have you seen the 2023 quarterback class? I'm like, you don't even know what you're watching. Like, I get it. I get the concern about the names because they're not there. But we thought this class was going to be just transcendent. Trevor Lawrence looks like a bum right now. Like, he's unusable for fantasy. He's pretty unusable on that team. His number one receiver is Jamal Agnew. He won't even throw to Marvin Jones and Laviska Shenault. That was the best quarterback in the class. Like,
best quarterback ever of any class.
Exactly. Like it's just there's major concerns with every quarterback in this class, except for Justin Fields, because I think that's a Matt Nagy problem. And I love that Matt Nagy after that game was like, we got to find out why we don't look like that every week. And it's like, well, it's because you weren't there this time.
There's literally one variable that's been changed.
Right. And Justin Fields is like a completely different person. But
figure it out. Matt Nagy's on the case. All right, let's talk about these defensive rookies of the year. Micah Parsons, favorite, plus 2125. Then a pretty big fall, Jason Owe, plus 750. Azeez Ojulari, plus 1,000. Patrick Surtain, plus 1,000. Gregory Rousseau, plus 1,200. I think that's, I don't know. I think he has just as good a chance probably as Owe of pulling that off. But it's going to be Parsons, I think, and we can pretty well lock that in.
Yeah, you're not beating a Cowboy.
Yeah, you're not beating a Cowboy that is making a difference and showing up in big plays and in big ways. So not really a lot to talk about there.
Can we talk about how the rookie linebacker class has been like kind of disappearance so far? Like not very, I don't know. Other than Parsons, like we just expected, I guess, a lot more from like Zaven Collins, Jamin Davis.
Davis has been a surprise. I wasn't really putting a lot of stock in this class as far as like guys I would just plug and play. Zaven Collins felt like he was going to be the one that you probably could because it felt like Jordan Hicks was going to leave, and he still hasn't. He's still there. Right. He's still playing well.
Doing good too. So
exactly. So of the guys that I probably had the most faith in this season, he turned out to be probably the biggest disappointment. And then Parsons, he had all these guys in front of him, and he's just gotten them out of the way. So
yeah.
I mean, besides him, it's really been tough. Oh, we got a comment here.
Good point. Okay, that's a good point.
Nick Bolton has been playing very well. He's right. He had 4 tackles for loss in their game the other day against the Tennessee Titans. That's 4 negative yardage plays. I'm assuming they were pretty much all on Derrick Henry because he's the only guy that carries the ball there.
Right.
That's something you can hang your hat on as a linebacker, in my opinion.
We'll see what he can do tonight too.
Yep, and it'll be an interesting night to see how they use him. So, other major awards, we got the Comeback Player of the Year award. This one's actually pretty interesting. Dak Prescott at minus 500, but Joe Burrow plus 500. I think that is a little bit closer than that, probably. Who do you think will take it home?
I think with Dak Prescott not playing right now, Burrow should. I mean, you should load up some money on Burrow. I don't know. Like that team's
it's a little really curious.
Good. Yeah, very curious.
So that I think I'm going to give it to. Man, it's tough. It's tough to go against the Cowboy. I think the more deserving player is probably Joe Burrow. He's been playing every game. They've been winning. He's been doing it with a hodgepodge of guys. And, Dak, we've known this team that Dak's had is going to be good. The Cowboys have been good. They've had all the pieces to be good. We didn't know that about the Bengals, and Joe Burrow was supposed to be like the skeleton key, and he has proven to be the skeleton key. And then he got injured, and he came right back, and that team is right back where they were, probably even in a better situation than they were. So I'm going to vote that Joe Burrow deserves it more than Dak. And that's tough because I went from being a huge Dak hater back in the day to I think Dak's just a cool ass dude. I think he's probably one of the most down to earth, regular people in the NFL, just from based on what, it's just me watching him and observing him. But he seems like he's an easy guy to root for. And again, that's coming from somebody who was not rooting for him at any point. But I'm a big Dak fan now. But Burrow, I think he's done enough to earn it. So
yep, I agree. I never thought he would be the same after that injury, and he exceeded expectations.
Better. You want to take a stab real quick at the Coach of the Year?
Coach of the Year.
I'll give you here the top 4 guys. We got Mike McCarthy plus 600, Cliff Kingsbury plus 700, Brandon Staley plus 700, and then Sean McVay plus 900.
I'm not. Can I go off board?
Go.
Sean Payton should be getting some buzz.
1,200. He's plus 1,200. Sean McDermott, and then he are the next 2 best.
Does that team seem like a 5-2 team to you? I mean, based on how many people have been like just out on everybody. I mean, they don't have a wide receiving core. Jameis has been up and down to say the least for them, and they've just been rattling off wins. I think Peyton might deserve it this year. That he's done a great job. I mean, you could probably give it to like Zach Taylor or Cliff Kingsbury because they're doing something, but it feels that they're gonna like, I don't know. It feels like one of those two teams is gonna fall off at the end of the season. My vote's for the Cardinals because as soon as Kyler gets hurt, that thing is out. Like it's not going to go well for the Cardinals once Kyler Murray gets hurt. But Sean Payton, I think it should be him. Rougarou, I agree.
That's a good take. Brandon Staley, they want it to be him real bad. They really do. Plus 700. I like that. I really enjoyed that. After he got everybody was just choking on his you-know-what on Twitter 2-3 weeks ago. Every statement he said was just like retweeted, like, oh my God, Brandon Staley is the best. And then like now he's had like 2 bad weeks and I haven't seen a single clip of him from a press conference come through my timeline. I'm like, yeah, we know how y'all are.
Yeah, the Chargers, they have some major flaws, and I don't know where those flaws were at the beginning of the season.
It's funny, too, because the big tout was his defensive coaching ability and all this.
Yeah, and it's like have the worst run defense in the league.
Yeah, but that was like the tout. I was like, come on, y'all.
Well, if you kind of go through their wins, like they haven't had really any good wins. They beat Washington. They beat the Chiefs, which is not – it's a good win, but it's not a great win. They beat the Browns, but the game was 47-42, and it was pretty much a coin flip there at the end.
Yeah.
And then they beat the Raiders, which is their only good win so far, but we don't even know if the Raiders are good or not. So if you think about it, like the Chargers, like are they for real? Because I don't know. I don't think so.
I mean, they're kind of built the way the Chiefs are right now. They're real in the sense that their quarterback is a god. Yes.
Yeah.
But, and their coaching staff is looked at as a genius and a savant and a forward thinker. But, again, eventually that needs to show up on the field. I thought, to me, it's pretty telling that they couldn't beat the Patriots because I don't think the Patriots are a very good team.
Patriots at home, by the way. Like the Patriots had to travel all the way from New England to LA. And
you guys got beat up. Like that was that was embarrassing. And that's telling to me more than any soundbite. That's pretty telling. So
yeah.
Anyway, all right. Let's move along now. All right, let's talk quickly about the leaderboard on the season. And since we are a forward-thinking show and a forward-thinking organization, we're going to look forward. We're going to look at the IDP or the defensive side of things before we look at the offensive side of things, because you probably have a lot of people in your ear, in your eyeballs, in your, here, there, and everywhere telling you offensive information. We want to keep you guys abreast of the defensive stuff, all right? So let's just quickly talk about sacks. They're sexy. They're big. Myles Garrett, 10.5 sacks through 8 games. Really good pace. 31 tackles. Really good pace for him. The next 2 guys behind him, Harold Landry, TJ Watt. I've already kind of given my TJ Watt spiel. He's done a lot on a little snaps. To be second in the league behind Harold Landry is crazy. Harold Landry's played like almost 500 defensive snaps, just to give you an idea of the discrepancy of playing time for Watt to be on this list. Next behind him, you have Matt Judon, another 8-game starter. He has 8 sacks. Hassan Reddick, 7.5. Trey Hendrickson, 7.5. 2 pass rushers that left their teams last year, and 2 pass rushers that last year a lot of smart football people kind of dunked on, said, oh, Hassan Reddick, all of his sacks they were cleanup sacks. He's not going to do anything for the Panthers. Wrong. Trey Hendrickson, the Bengals way overpaid. He's not going to be the difference maker. They should have kept Carl Lawson around. Wrong. Trey Hendrickson's a beast. More sacks than Nick Bosa. More sacks than Danielle Hunter. More sacks than Khalil Mack. These guys are dogs, all right? They got paid because they get the points. They get the finishing plays. They're not just pressure creators. They are playmakers, all right? And they're proving that through 8 games. 8.5 sacks. We're trending for some big sack total seasons right now. Last year, we came off a season where the highest sack total, I believe, was 14. We could legitimately see a guy with 14 sacks next week. I mean, Myles Garrett has that kind of pop in his game.
Yeah.
So that just lets you know defensively where the NFL is at right now. We got a lot of good young pass rushers right now. So we got a lot of guys getting pressure, a lot of guys up for big contracts. TJ Watt reset the market. What are your thoughts on the current sack leaderboard? Who do you think finishes the season with the most sacks?
So I still think it's going to end up being Myles Garrett. I really do.
Wrong.
Okay, well, fair enough. I think TJ Watt is good, and I just don't think he is going to be the leader. But at the same time, like as far as impact plays go, I think it's going to be TJ Watt. But as far as like sack, that one number, probably not
Are
even
you not
tackles.
worried? Do you not? But think about it. He has 8.5 sacks and he's played almost 200 fewer snaps. Only two. I mean, on a snap per snap basis, his sack rate's better.
I hear you, but I just don't think he's going to get done. Just
All
don't
right.
think.
Should we do a fireball bet?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, all right. We'll do a little competitive fireball bet. I'm going to take my guy, TJ Watt, even though he's missed a couple of games. I'm going to take him, and I'm going to give Billy the little handicap. I'm still going to beat him. Although Billy is right now kind of crushing me in fireball bets from the preseason, but we won't get into that now. We won't bore you with the details. We don't even worry about that.
Keep paying up on some of those.
Well, we'll talk about accounts receivable. That's all next year stuff, so we'll get into that later. Nick Bosa, 2 sacks yesterday, quietly having a pretty decent season. It's funny, I heard them talking about the superstars on San Francisco the other day, and his name didn't come up. And I was like, man, like, is nobody paying attention to like how good he's really playing? Like 7 sacks coming off an ACL tear that like he didn't play last year, 11 tackles for loss. Let's go ahead and jump into the next leaderboard. He leads the league in tackles for loss with 11, tying Hassan Reddick and Myles Garrett. Again, coming off a major injury, and he's played 1 fewer game because of the bye week. TJ Watt's a little bit lower. He was the leader last season. He has 8. But, it's mostly pass rushers. But you have Demario Davis and Nick Bolton in there with 9 and 9, your first off-ball linebackers. Those guys are obviously giving you some big points. Who do you think finished the season as the tackle for loss leader? Now, bear in mind, 3 of the last 4 years, I believe it's been Aaron Donald. And then last year it was TJ Watt. And I think it was Luke Kuechly a few years back as well. So it kind of jumps around.
Well, I've liked Reddick so far. The Carolina defense is definitely nothing to mess with, and I think it's only going to help now that he's got the secondary that he has gives him more time to get back there, or he's just got a really good swim move about him. I also like, and I see Ruru brought him up, Demario Davis as well. I think he has a big opportunity. The Saints defense is trending up, and I think by the season's end, tackles for loss, he could easily be in there.
He does. If you follow me on YouTube or on Facebook or God dang, go to Twitter, go to my handle. I put out a video last week where I was talking him up. I said he's gonna have a big game. They did have a big game. Eric Kendricks, I don't know. I see in the chat here. I don't know where his tackle for loss numbers are. Aaron Donald, interestingly, only 6. He's almost half as many as the highest guy. It's not going to be an Aaron Donald MVP or Defensive Player of the Year, ladies and gentlemen. And honestly, last year shouldn't have been one either. But I won't get into that.
Yeah, Kendricks is in the top 50.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think Myles Garrett finishes the season with the most tackles for loss. Traditionally, he's not a guy that gets a lot of these. If you go look at his production profile, and again, the fact that TJ Watt is only 3 behind him, and he's played 200-ish, 150, 200-ish fewer snaps, I still think it's going to be somebody like a Matt Judon or a
Don't sleep on
Watt.
Bolton.
Yeah, his snaps are a little iffy, and I'm still
and he still has 9. He has. I'm
going to go with the pass rusher. You're right. You make a good point.
That's crazy.
Make a stand.
His snap percentage.
Are we just going to go TJ Watt against Myles Garrett on this one too?
Man,
we don't have to do one on this one.
I was about to say, I don't know. I don't feel as comfortable with Myles Garrett on that one. But
Von Miller, want to bring him up real quick. 7 tackles for loss in 7 games. He is 14th in the league, so he's making some plays behind the line of scrimmage. No forced fumbles this season, though. Only 3.5 sacks. So, and curiously, only 9 quarterback hits. That ain't bad.
The thing about the Browns, though, is you don't run on the Browns. Like, that is something I've been touting on offensive points. Like, that is the one team, because, like, even Clowney has a lot of tackles for loss, too. Him and Garrett both. And it's like, that is one team where they're going to try to stop they're going to probably stop the run. So that would be the one thing there.
Fair. All right, everybody who's watching, listening, before we go on, thumbs up this video, subscribe to the channel, leave us a review on iTunes. Billy does the show Offensive Points, the Dynasty Tailgate. I do the IDP Army podcast, and then I co-host the Underdogs, which had its own podcast feed, had its own playlist on the channel. Shalom. Thank you for being here with us. All right, let's continue on down this list. Let's talk tackle leaders right now. Bobby Wagner leads the league through 8 games. He has 93. That's insanity. That's more than 10 a game. Denzel Perryman through 7 games, second in the league with 81. Roquan Smith with 80. Foyesade Olakun, number 4. He has 77. Alex Singleton, 77. Devondre Campbell, 76. Cole Holcomb, 73. Deion Jones, 42. 72. Logan Wilson, 72. That's your top 9. Then Jordan Wilson comes in with 71. Interesting, another year with Foyesade Olakun and Deion Jones, both as top-tier linebackers, both making plays outside of just the tackles, too. I mean, Foyesade Olakun, 2 pass deflections, a forced fumble on the season, a sack. Deion Jones has a pass deflection, has a forced fumble on the year, 2 sacks, 7 tackles for loss for him. Big numbers for Deion Jones. Part of that is because this offense is putrid, but it's curious. They both finished last season as top linebackers. And before I turn it over to you, I think, it is something we need to bring up. If you're new to IDP, it's not uncommon for this to happen. We saw it happen last year. Eric Kendricks and Eric Wilson for the Vikings, both top 12 linebackers. We saw Foyesade Olakun and Deion Jones, both top 12 linebackers. You can go back 2 years ago. You had Roquan Smith, Jalen Smith, both being top-tier linebackers for the Cowboys. You can go back even more. You can see Joe Schobert, Christian Kirksey, both coexisting on the same team as top 12 linebackers. Another team this season, Bobby Wagner, Jordan Brooks, both having top 20 linebacker seasons in tandem with each other. So unlike offensive football, where a guy's target is kind of taking away from another player's target, if you're on the field getting opportunities and a guy plays next to you, he's going to get similar amount of opportunities. So teams that are playing a lot of defensive snaps, you can see tandems of linebackers produce high-level weeks for you. So just wanted to put that out there real quick. What are your thoughts on the leaderboard at tackles right now?
Right now, there's one name on there that's sticking out to me like a sore thumb. I think he's 13th right now. It's Derwin James. That is crazy that he is able to have that many tackles to where he can be up on the leaderboard with a bunch of linebackers. There's a couple more safeties further down the list, but that name sticks out to me like a sore thumb. It's interesting. I guess I could been sleeping on the Perryman train, and I guess it's just because he's not a big sack guy. So like that's why you haven't, he hasn't been jumping out to me. Exactly, which there's something to be said for somebody like that. Exactly. But as far as the rest of this goes, it's good to see some of these studs being studs. I mean, Roquan Smith, Bobby Wagner. Everybody said Bobby Wagner might be washed before the season. Nope. Just gets better with age, like fine wine.
Better and better and better and better.
Yeah, but Derwin James has really been doing a lot this year. And as you see, no Chargers anywhere else in the top, even like 15. I'd probably have to scroll further down to find even one that's up there in tackles. And for him to be up there, that should tell you how transcendent he is as a player.
Fair. Yeah, he is. Let's move on quickly. Forced fumbles, not necessarily a sticky stat, but Josh Norman with 4, Marcus Golden with 4, Derwin James 3. So he's making impact plays this year, turnover opportunities for his team. He himself has not recovered any fumbles, but he's at least forced 3. Darius Leonard has forced 3. Quincy Williams, Terrence Marshall, and then TJ Watt have all forced 3 fumbles. They're your forced fumble leaders. It's curious. It's either usually a defensive back or a pass rusher that leads it. It's very rarely that it's an off-ball linebacker that leads the league in forced fumbles. I don't really have any comments there. That's kind of, like I said, not a sticky stat.
Why is Marcus Golden getting more play time?
Well, he got a couple of 2 weeks ago. It was because Chandler Jones was hurt.
Yeah,
or COVID or whatever.
I know why he was out there, but I mean, he seems to have a really good pursuit. Because when they played Cleveland, he was just all over Baker. It was Golden every time.
He's a good player. He's kind of underrated, I think.
And he's from the Lou, which is pretty cool. Yeah, he went to actually the city I live in St. Louis. He went to the high school here. Nice.
Shout out Marcus Golden.
For sure.
All right, we'll go to pass deflection leaders real quick. It's mostly cornerbacks, which, an IDP, that's one of their that's an impact play. That's one that you want to have a guy that's going to get a lot. It's usually going to be a cornerback, but we do have a pretty high safety here. Kevin Byard with 10 pass deflections. Trevon Diggs still leads the league, has 11. Xavier Howard has 10. J.C. Jackson, you were on him several weeks ago. He has 10. Marshawn Lattimore has 10. All these guys have between 25 and 20 tackles. Nothing crazy there. None of them have any tackles for loss. So they're more of your cornerback type players, but there are some players here who are more IDP prevalent. For instance, Eric Harris. He has 35 tackles. He's playing safety for Atlanta, so he may be in your lineup a little bit more often than some of those other guys. Justin Simmons, 6 pass deflections. Darius Leonard right now leading all the linebackers with 5. I'm not really wouldn't say I'm surprised by
old
that.
Cam Hayward in there too.
Yeah, Cam Hayward in there with DT. He's putting up some big numbers. What's he got? 5?
Yes.
Big dog. That's such a big difference maker in my opinion. Just players that have production profiles that allow them to do more than just sack or just cover or just this or that. Being a true playmaker comes from getting your hands on the ball, and when you have the ball in your hands, can you make a play with it? So can you turn your pass deflections, one in every 3 or 4 of them into an interception? So, and let's see here.
Hey, I was aboard the J.C. Jackson train early. I saw a little bit last season when he was getting a little work when Stephon Gilmore went out, and I think that's why they got rid of him, is because he was able to be the guy that they wanted him to be. 30 tackles. I mean, 10 pass deflections, 3 picks. It's pretty good for a cornerback.
Yeah, 3 picks. He has the 4th most in the league. He's tied with a few other players. Logan Wilson has 4. Kevin Byard has 4. He led the league in interceptions several years ago. I think he had 9 or 10. And then you've got Trevon Diggs with his 7, leading the pack by a fair margin there.
Fluky.
Fluky. Yeah, you trying to rain on that boy's parade pretty hard,
I like Trevon Diggs. It's gone a little far.
What do you mean it's gone far? What's gone far?
Just
7 interceptions. How far?
The way people have been talking about him, it's just
he's a great player. He's a good kid.
Good, not
great
great
kid. Good attitude. Not like you. All right.
Much of a team player.
Offensively, who do you want to talk about offensively? I guess we could go ahead and talk touchdown leaders on the season. If you wanted to, or
yeah, let me pull up my sheet real quick and I will let you know. Like rushing, receiving.
I don't know. The page that I'm looking at is not really working right now. So,
well, I mean, we could go over receiving touchdowns so far because it's
okay. Let's do that. I got functioning now. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Cooper Kupp's obviously been one of the fantasy MVPs of the season so far. He's almost got 1,000 yards already. 10 touchdowns, which, to have double-digit touchdowns already, and he's only played, 8 games? That could easily be 20 touchdowns for a receiver. And, I mean, you could see all from his target share. That's how it's going to happen. He has 90 targets total. That is insane. Like, nobody gets force-fed that much. But Matt Stafford loves him.
No, Michael Thomas did there for a while.
That's true. But here's the thing, and we found this out way too late. So they apparently, Cooper Kupp, and Matt Stafford would have breakfast every morning during training camp. By the way, nugget that we all needed to know. So Joe and Josh will start calling them the Breakfast Club whenever Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp hook up. But he's been the best so far, and I don't really see. I mean, obviously Mike Evans is next with 8, and Metcalf has 8 as well. My Mike Evans take isn't really aging well, but whatever. It is what it is.
No one's is. Everyone's like, oh, he's just the best receiver the NFL's ever had, period.
Jesus Christ.
There it is. Said it. All right, so Jamar Chase has 7. Hopkins has 7. Drop down, you got Marquise Brown. He's got 6. Mike Williams has 6. Thielen has 6. And then Dawson Knox with 5. Tyreek Hill with 5. That's curious.
Cordell Patterson with 5.
What a beast.
It's a renaissance for Patterson this year.
No, I don't feel like there's really a lot to talk about here. I think the guys at the top. I mean, I think at the end of the season it's going to be Mike Evans or Cooper Kupp. I don't think that DK Metcalf is going to keep up this kind of season. Personally,
I think everybody needs to relax on Hollywood Brown. By the way, he's done enough to be, everybody needs to get off of his back a little bit.
Yeah, he's done. Oh yeah. He's been good. I appreciate him. I like him a lot. I think he, like you said, he's kind of
Well, you
been
know,
burnt out.
everybody after that one game was just all over him about how, oh, he can't catch. Has he ever caught a ball in his life? Like, no,
Yeah,
we're done with that. He's
I
earned his
do
spots.
I do use Twitter. I do. So yeah, I did see that.
You've seen a few of
Um,
those.
yeah. Yardage wise, Cooper Cup leading the way, 924. Debo Samuel, gadget guy, A dot too low, don't want him. Analytics guys, look at my chart. He sucks. I don't want him. Morons, idiots, fools, all of you. 819 yards. I don't know what else to say about that. Jamar Chase, the rookie, with coming in at 3,
Look at his targets too.
786.
Like that is the craziest part about Jamar
59
Chase to me.
targets. Yeah.
Yes. Cooper
He's
Cup has
making
90 and he only has 150 more
my
yards.
comp, and this is my comp, not as somebody that like comps players or whatever, but my fantasy comp is Tyreek Hill and AJ Brown, because they're the kind of players where you can just be sitting there and you just see something happen on your TV and your whole day changes like that. Your whole day. Okay. There are only a handful. Derrick Henry, another guy. There are very few players that can just take the whole field and say it's mine. And I've seen
hurting
Jamar
my
Chase.
heart in the preseason.
I've seen Jamar Chase do that multiple times through 8 games with a quarterback who was coming off an injury, who had a lot of kind of negative stigma around him. I've seen him break plays that, like, players that I've only seen Tyreek Hill and like I've only seen AJ Brown do. And that's not shade at any of these other guys that, like Justin Jefferson. Like, to me, Justin Jefferson isn't absolute dynamite. You know what I mean? Alvin Kamara isn't absolute dynamite. They do well in fantasy. They're great fantasy players. But if you want that absolute emotional high, Jamar Chase offers that to you in a way that very few players do. And he's a rookie. Again, I cannot stress this enough. He's a rookie. Okay. And he's one of the top wide receivers in the NFL for fantasy, for real life, for all of it. It's insane.
I'm telling you, when it was hurting my heart before the season, when he was like having all those drops during the preseason, and everybody was just like, oh, he says the ball's too small. Oh, it has stripes on it. I was like, I've seen this kid play. He was so much better than Justin Jefferson in college. Like, it was not even close to me. Justin Jefferson was like a silly little slot receiver, while Jamar Chase was the big dog. And like, I was just like, I can't not, the talent's there. He's going to figure it out eventually. And I mean, he has figured it out, I would say.
He has. All right, a few more guys on the list. Devontae Adams, 744. Chris Godwin, 660. DJ Moore, 645. Tyreek Hill, 641. Lamb with 609. So those are kind of your big leaders there for your main fantasy points. I guess we can look at receptions real quick. Tyreek Hill, interestingly, has the second most receptions at wide receiver, 52. The yardage is just not there for him this season, though. Kind of curious, considering it's Tyreek Hill.
Well, I mean, if you see what happens when KC plays, Pat Mahomes puts the ball right on it, and usually Tyreek just like shovel passes it to the defender for an interception. It's happened quite a few times this season.
Interesting. That
felt not Pat Mahomes' fault. That I would never blame him.
That felt like shade.
Yeah, shade towards Tyreek. He needs to hold on to the ball.
I don't believe in shade.
All
right. Enough. Let's talk running backs real quick and wide receivers. Let's do that a little bit faster, maybe. What are your thoughts on the running back landscape? Obviously, Derrick Henry, let's not even talk about it. It's unfortunate. 937 yards. This next game, he would have assuredly gone over 1,000.
He had such a large lead.
He had a massive league over the next guy. James Conner, interestingly, has the second most rushing touchdowns in the league with 8 behind the big dog.
Yeah. So I think the most frustrating part is for Chase Edmonds owners, obviously, when it comes to Connor, because Chase Edmonds owners, I think, I don't really have many shares of him because I was afraid of this exact thing in the preseason, is Connor's going to come in and steal the touchdowns when, Chase Edmonds is in there to do the work. But I think it's very telling that Nick Chubb's still second in yards and he hasn't played in 2 weeks. I mean, he kind of played this week. I would not call that a full workload. Obviously didn't get the touchdown. Dearness Johnson got it. But I think Jonathan Taylor needs the ball more. If we want to go down that path, they seem to use him and he gets a lot of yardage and does a lot of plus plays, and then they kind of go away from that and put the ball in Carson Wentz's hand, which is the riskiest thing you can ever do in football, is put the ball in Carson Wentz's hand. I think if they trusted Jonathan Taylor more, they would be better, personally.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's not even really that's an obvious truth. Yeah, Carson Wentz is a total joke. He's a sham. He's a fraud.
The biggest shock of this year has been Mixon for me, though, personally.
The thing about Carson Wentz, he's at this point in his career where I feel like everyone treats him so delicately. He can't, no one's going to sit him down and be like, you fucking suck. We're taking your job from you. Like, they're so scared of hurting his feelings and his delicate little ego because he's such a nice guy and he does all the right things. He says all the right stuff. It's just like nauseating because he sucks. And it's just like, make it stop. Make it stop trying to be a thing. And people are like, oh, and the big thing is, oh, he didn't have any turnovers this year. That doesn't mean he's good, okay? Like, he's doing enough. And I'm like, enough isn't enough in the NFL, though. That's the thing. Like, and we know that. Like, we know that. And Carson Wentz,
it's the Baker Mayfield issue I have.
Yeah, the Jimmy Garoppolo issue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's
good, not great.
And that's just not going to get it done. So don't try and tell me that we haven't seen his ceiling. We have seen his ceiling, and even his ceiling, that was 2017, 2018. The NFL, that ceiling is not NFL ceiling now.
Yeah.
So.
No,
whatever.
I agree. But kind of going a little bit further down the list, Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts are both in there in the top 20 as far as rushing yards go, which is nice to see because you drafted them for that exact reason. So that's good. It's good that they're paying that off. And then Elijah Mitchell has 433 yards and only 81
Never
attempts.
heard of him.
San Francisco is a dumpster fire.
Fire.
That offense is just the most bizarre thing. And I am so frustrated with it that I can't believe I paid some of the prices I paid for San Francisco players this offseason.
Yeah, same. I had Ayuk and Sermon. I have a lot of Ayuk and Sermon. Thankfully, I have a good bit of Debo too.
I have Lance too. So
yeah, so he's helped balance some of the pain out, but it's just frustrating, like you said, just the way Shanahan is, the way the offense runs, the way everything about it's just not fun.
Can I toss out a little bit of a hot take?
Absolutely.
It's not something that I totally agree with. I can see the people that are 0 RB. I can see where they're coming from. Your team is so dependent on health when you lock your player up for Christian McCaffrey or Derrick Henry or I mean, who else was taken, like Elliott or Alvin Kamara or Dalvin Cook? I mean, you neutered your team this year if you have a couple of those guys on your team. And it's just
there were other landmines.
I get that it's fluky, but like it seems like the wide receivers are a little bit, I don't know, more trustworthy.
I mean, Stephon Diggs has not been that trustable. DeAndre Hopkins hasn't been that trustable.
But what? DeAndre Hopkins has been trustable. He wasn't good this last game. He's been solid every week.
Yeah, he's all right. I mean, he's a good kid.
He's been fine, but your Tyreek Hill, you would have been fine. Devontae Adams, you would have been fine. Keenan Allen, for the most part, you would have been fine. There's just, I don't know. I can at least see where people are coming from with 0 RB, and I think I might try it next year.
I'm definitely going to do it in best ball next year.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I can tell you that right now.
100%. Like you see so many people in these comments where like my season's done, like my season's over with.
Well, that's defeatist mentality, okay? Listen.
It's not, but it's not just that. It's that people tout these running backs as you need to take them first because they're so scarce, and it's like, but by the end of the season, I mean, look who the leaders are. You could have gotten some of these guys in the second round. Like it could have,
but that's the thing. It's a crapshoot every year, though. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. It always is.
Well, you could have gotten Mixon or Damian Harris or Darrell Henderson Jr. or James Robinson. Any of those.
This is easily taken Mike Davis, Devin Singletary, Kareem Hunt, David Montgomery, and you're in the same situation. The season here's the thing about fantasy football. The variables, people want to say this is a plus or minus EV move on the season. They want to make it all math-based. And that's great until you realize a lot of the variables are qualitative variables. They are not number variables. That means, is this player even on the field? Does he die? Does he get shot in the leg at a Halloween party? You can't quantify that, and you can't quantify which position group it's more likely to happen to. You just have to
It's
draft.
more likely with running backs. Let's be honest.
Okay,
you got to be honest.
You're talking purely injury. But
no, I'm saying hit rate for first round running backs is much lower than your wide receivers you also took in the first round. You could say Diggs, you could throw that out there, but Devontae Adams, if you took him in the first round, if you took Tyreek Hill in the first round, you were getting plenty back.
Yeah, but they've hurt people the past couple of years getting hurt too. I mean, I've had Tyreek on a lot of teams. He's missed games, and so has Stephon Diggs. They miss games every year.
I get it. I'm just saying I feel like you sometimes nuke your team with a running back in the first round. So
I feel like you're an idiot.
Well, that is TDB or TBD.
TBD. Hey, did you see that I'm mopping the floor with old Joe in 2 leagues, I think, this week?
I did not see that.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, wipe the floor with him, and then in the offensive points invitational or whatever, I'm mopping the floor with him too. No big deal. Just thought I'd drop that in there because you guys are pretty good at dropping a little Jordan shade in every once in a while on your show. So,
we do not even mention you on that show. I don't
know please!
You guys I don't know what you're talking about.
You guys do a whole segment. It's just a Jordan watch. It's like Jordan say this.
Jordan watch.
All right, let's see here. Rugaru's got a question. Oh, I have Kamara, Diggs, Cup, Lockett, and I'm 2-6. Exactly. Fantasy football is so insane. Like, I can't even explain. Here's an anecdotal story. I was in a league 3 years ago. Okay, $100 buy-in. All my buddies. I did all the research, all the prep, because I'm in this stuff. I live this. Okay, my buddy over here, he's basically just a stone cold idiot. Love him to death. Great guy. Big Durr. Okay. He drafted from rounds 5 to 8 Delaney Walker, Greg Olsen, and Jimmy Graham, neither of which were even that season, like going into the season, like top 8 tight ends. He drafted them right in the middle of his draft, okay? And this is with a bunch of sharps. The dude won the league. He won the league. Nothing makes sense. You can do everything right, and you're going to lose to a jackass that drafts Greg Olsen, Delaney Walker, Darius Geis. I mean, so just have fun with it. Get players.
Well, I mean, this is gambling at its most primitive form.
The thing about fantasy football. Here's the thing about fantasy football that drives me nuts. People are like, "I was right," and I'm like, "You can be right till you're blue in the face and still fucking take an L in this game." And that's what I think makes it fun. Is because on any given day, anybody can win. Even that shit team that drafted every wrong player can beat that team that took Derrick Henry and took Lockett. If you don't give up, you can still pull off wins, putting in guys. Get your 20-point Sterling Shepard week. Get your Daniel Jones, weeks in. You can just patch this stuff together, and then it feels so good to beat these guys like me who think that they know everything. So,
yeah, that's not that hard to do. But I'm just saying.
Oh,
I just see where they're coming from. I had never believed in the zero RB strategy. I can just now see where they're coming from. I can see it. Not that I agree with it.
There's a lot of different ways
to play this game. Where they're coming from.
There's a lot of different ways to play this game. A lot of those zero RB guys that you were taking, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, some of those guys didn't even make it into the season. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's just as many guys took L's doing that as guys that'll tell you that they got them all right. Hey, guys, just got offered Aaron Jones and Mike Williams, and I give him Justin Jefferson and Elijah Mitchell. What'd you guys think? I don't know if it's dynasty or redraft. What do you think?
I would keep Jefferson and Mitchell.
Would you?
I would. I mean, the thing is like, while Aaron Jones and Mike Williams are kind of, having a buy low moment right now, because this is probably the cheapest you're going to get them. I just think by the season's end, Justin Jefferson and Elijah Mitchell will be like, Elijah Mitchell seems like a league winner right now. Like if you picked him up off waivers.
How?
I mean, do you need to go back over his stats in 5 games?
I looked at it today. He had one 20-point game. That was this last one. It was 20 points exactly. He's a touchdown-dependent rushing running back only. He doesn't even play 70% of the snaps. He doesn't get any targets, and he's missed weeks already this season. So you've only really had him in your lineup 3 weeks out of the 8 weeks this season. So to call him a league winner is a little rich to me, big
Could
dog.
be. I said could be a league winner.
Yeah, I know. people trying to lap that one as a win. And I'm like, I mean, let's calm down. I don't want to take away anything, but
you're just hurt over Trey Sermon, and I
am
agree.
hurt over Trey Sermon.
I'm the same way, man.
I am, because there's nothing that I've seen Elijah Mitchell do that Trey Sermon couldn't do if you gave him 18 carries a game. In my opinion.
Actually, can you put his? So that actually now with more context of your team, I probably would do that trade. If your main running back is Zeke, and then you had Zeke and Aaron Jones, I could see it.
Yeah, because Miles Sanders is basically droppable. He's going to be useless. He has been useless. He's going to be useless.
Miles Sanders is hurt over what happened yesterday with the Eagles. But Adams and yeah, I could see that.
Don't give up.
I mean, this is all luck in the end. Like, you have to have the luck to play the right players in the right week versus the right matchup. That's all it is. Yep. It's gambling. I understand that. And there's not any draft analyst out there that says, any fantasy football draft analyst out there that says that, like, this is the right way to do it is not right. Like, they're just, maybe it's a 52% chance. Like, there's not.
Yeah, it might be the academically sound way, but that doesn't mean it's going to work out.
No, these predictions are insane.
This isn't like going to the gym where if you do the things, you get the results. You can do all the right shit in fantasy football and just go 0-6.
Yeah, it leads people to, like, on the OP podcast where Joe thinks Mike Williams had been selling all these other seasons, and then this year, because he's in a contract year, he's actually trying, and that he hasn't been trying for the last 3 years, that he's just now trying because he wants a new contract. That is insane. That is an insane thought process, but that's what fantasy football does to people, man.
Rougarou. Man, it's hard not to toss in the towel when you're that far behind.
My
thought process on that is this. You only lose in that situation when you give up. You could claw and claw and claw and claw. Yeah, it's going to hurt. Yeah, and you could still probably lose. And it's probably easier just to say, I lost. My season's over. And that's what a lot of people do, and that's fine. That's your choice. I advocate for fighting to your dying breath.
I would say if you're 0-7, maybe you got a lot of work
but
to
again,
do,
like if the best team in your league right now is 5-2, you can pull off a 5-streak win and a bunch of people, and then all of a sudden, maybe only 2 more teams, get kind of a good record. All of a sudden, you're sneaking into the playoffs.
Oh, I've won championships from like a 6-7 situation. And
exactly. I have too.
So, it's just,
don't quit playing the game.
Definitely don't.
Is Alex Singleton a drop candidate? I'm going to look real quick at what his snap share was in the index this week. I don't know. I mean, I thought that Eric Wilson was a drop candidate because he played almost no snaps this last week. Singleton was sub 55%, though, just a little over 55% last week. I don't know. That's tough. He is leading. He is one of the top tacklers in the league, even playing not the snap. So I'm probably going to hold Singleton for a bit, my guy. So,
did you get to these questions earlier though?
Which ones?
Did you drop Mike Davis for Michael Carter? And that is a definite yes. You definitely need to do that.
Mike Davis was droppable weeks ago.
Yes.
So although, do you think that they're going to play Cordell Patterson more as wide receiver, and that's going to give him a bump in usage from the running back spot?
No.
Okay.
I hate Atlanta, and they're not doing anything correctly. Well, they've started to, now that they've put Pitts out at wide receiver instead of tight end because they were stupid in the beginning of the season. And then this one. First time on the channel, I gave Hopkins for Pittman, W or loss, and gave Brady for Russell and Aaron Jones, win or loss.
I'm going to say win on both.
Yeah, the first one's close, but I think you're probably getting about the same value. And then the second one, as long as Russell comes back and within a good amount of time, I would say that's a win. But Brady being the number 1 QB, I'm pretty sure in fantasy right now is kind of tough to watch.
Yeah. He's a dog, that old man.
Yep. Old man.
Any more questions in there?
Nope, that was it. I think those were just the 2 that I happened to see from earlier.
All right, well, this is supposed to be like a trending up and down show.
Yep.
I feel like we've kind of talked about a lot of guys that are kind of trending up. Are there any players that you want to talk about that are trending down? IDP wise, Jamal Adams, obviously, I've kind of brought it up in my ranking shows the last couple of weeks, as well as Buda Baker. Not what they have been in the past. So they've been trending down for me. Offensively, I don't want to say that Stephon Diggs is trending down, but I mean, he really kind of is at this point. Again, this season's not last season. I know people are like, oh, he's going to get his big game. That's fine, but one big game after 8 weeks, I don't think top 3 wide receivers in his range of outcomes anymore. He's got a lot of ground to make up. Could he? Yeah. We could see a couple of guys at the top go down, et cetera, et cetera. Anything could happen, but I didn't draft Stephon Diggs for one big game week 9, personally. That's just me.
Yeah, exactly. He was supposed to be a consistent player.
Yeah. So if I'm getting 11-point games from him, that's barely, that's not even replacement level wide receiver numbers, basically. So I'm a little upset with him. Jameis Winston, he's trending down, obviously, but even before, I was really excited after week 1 when he had a really great game. What did he throw? 4 touchdowns?
Mm-hmm.
But he was kind of already trending down for me as far as at the midway point of the season. Who are some guys for you that are trending down at the moment?
Trending down?
And anybody in the chat want to chime in? You guys have any players on your teams that are you're looking at differently now going forward? And if you're watching this after the show, after the live stream, leave a comment as well. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, etc. So
my first one's been Pollard. At the beginning of the season, he was getting used quite a bit to spell out Zeke on some plays, but it's kind of favored more towards Zeke towards the end of the season. You're not really seeing as many of those splash plays that are like 30 yards. And I don't know, especially like last night, I don't know if that was because of the Cooper Rush thing. I don't, maybe that's why it wasn't that way. But that was kind of disappointing.
Here's a couple of interesting ones in the chat. William E says, my biggest fail was drafting Kels in the first round. Yeah, he really hasn't been that big of a difference maker, in my opinion. I have him in a couple of leagues, even tied in premium leagues, and it's not like he's out here winning me weeks. He's never been a big touchdown guy. Last season, I think he had a career high in touchdowns. Last year, Kelsey was kind of inevitably going to let us down because I believe last year was the best year of his career. After having 5 really good years, he had capped it all off with a monster year. So there was going to kind of be a little hangover with him. But, yeah, first round, especially considering every year, the past few years, you haven't had to pay that and you got better production, I can see how that would kind of hamstring your team a little bit. Rougarou says Dalvin Cook. Interesting. Yeah.
Dalvin Cook has had a pretty bad season so far. It's been a little bit of the injuries, but it's also just the Vikings as a whole has been just very disappointing. Last night, for example, 18 carries, 78 yards, and he didn't catch either of the receptions. It's kind of been, it's kind of been how his season's been going. He's very hit or miss, and that's not what you expect out of Dalvin Cook. It's not why you drafted him probably within the top 5. So, yeah, no, I could definitely see Dalvin Cook as a big trending down situation. My other one, I almost forgot about him. Antonio Gibson, woof. Just woof. People were calling him Christian McCaffrey 2.0 in the preseason. And while he was never a first-round draft pick, really, he was most people's second-round draft pick. And he is not – he's barely usable right now. McKissick looks better. And Heineke seems to like McKissick more, and those receptions are the bread and butter. And Antonio Gibson was good at catching the ball last year. He's not they're not happening anymore. It's not the magic is gone. So with Washington needing to come back in most of these games, Antonio Gibson kind of falls by the wayside.
Fair. And I kind of agree. I didn't have a lot of Gibson. I kind of saw – I don't want to say I hate saying I saw it coming, but it's like when you don't invest in a player in any of your leagues, I feel like you kind of –
with Fitzpatrick, I think things would have been different. I really do.
You consciously or subconsciously make a decision to put a player on your team. And I can say that I don't have any Antonio Gibson.
I did that with Cup, and we see where that got me. So
True, you know, you do we don't hit them all, you know, nobody
Yeah,
does.
it's true.
Allen Robinson trending down. Hope he gets traded. Yeah, that's a tough situation there. Allen Robinson's had a tough career forever.
Yes,
Dude's just
it's
tough.
been bad news bears for him,
Been
literally.
tough. He's still a great receiver though. He's still young enough. I would love to see him end up on the Chiefs or something like that. That would be really cool in my opinion.
Or they could get rid of Matt Nagy. Probably solve all the problems in the world if they just did that.
I don't know. Maybe.
The play caller is the problem there. It's not the quarterback. I mean, the quarterback does hold on the ball too long, and he takes sacks.
I think there's more wrong with the Bears than just the head coach. Gibson was my second pick after Kelsey.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's tough, my guy. It was a better draft to draft RB depth this year. Yeah. Again, the James Robinson truthers got their few weeks out of him. And apparently his injury's not too bad off, so he should be back out there.
Yep.
Zach Moss, low-key, having an okay-ish season. Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, a lot of these quote-unquote split backfields really got worked themselves out. Fournette is definitely the starter in Tampa Bay. Zach Moss has kind of done what Zach Moss has done there. New England, it's not it is kind of a bunch of running backs, but it's Damian Harris and when it matters, and then when it doesn't matter, we'll throw in JJ Taylor and the rest of them.
Yeah. All right. Well, I really don't have any other notes. I thought this show would go a little bit longer, but unless you have any major storylines, talking points, things you want to talk about going forward as far as like macro scale on the season, we can do that. If not, we can kind of go ahead and
I was thinking maybe we could toss out a couple of people to maybe try to target, because most people's fantasy trade deadlines probably within the next couple weeks, I would think.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if you happen to have any names off the top of your head of people that people
I will say
target.
This is what I will say. I saw a guy today at Chalk. If you guys follow Chalk Leagues, if you guys follow him on Twitter, he's a good dude. He has been making plays for Calvin Ridley in Dynasty. I saw one where he sent Mike Evans for Calvin Ridley, another one where he sent Cortland Sutton. I am not on that. Kind of like I said coming in earlier in the show, it looks like a buy low opportunity, but again, if you go to the other players that we've seen have these sort of mental health issues at the wide receiver position, they were presented to us obviously as addiction issues, cannabis issues, whatever, Martavis Bryant, Josh Gordon. But again, most of that stuff is rooted in a sort of a mental health problem. I don't know how Calvin Ridley's dealing with it. I don't know, but the players we've seen deal with this, besides Antonio Brown really kind of getting his act together, it usually does not circle back around to guys being top fantasy wide receivers again. So I would not trade a guy like a Mike Evans, who's been nothing but rock solid and is still 27 years old. I mean, Calvin Ridley's 26? What are you really getting out of that? So I don't know, that's just, I'm not doing that.
Atlanta's not even at the rebuild yet. Like they're going, like the rebuild is coming very quickly for them, and they haven't even started yet. So if you're trading for them, might be in for a couple of weird years with a rookie quarterback.
I was on a show right before this, the Front Yard Fantasy guys as well, and they had several questions on their guys talking about what should I be sending out to try to go get Derrick Henry. I'm not on that either. I don't want Derrick Henry, even if he's back in 6 or 7 weeks. Maybe that's a mistake on my end, but what I'd have to give up to get him on my bench, I'm not on that right now either.
Whatever you're giving up is worth way more
valuable. Thoughts on Justin Fields going forward? Was his performance a fluke? Don't think it was a fluke. I think he'll have performances like that, but I still don't feel confident starting him every week.
As long as Bill Lazor's not calling the offense, that's what you're going to get from Justin Fields. I mean, that right there is what you would get if it was Bill Lazor. If it's Matt Nagy, who wants to, be an egomaniac about the offense, you're going to have the Justin Fields that you've had for the last couple weeks.
Yeah. Egomaniac. That's a great word for him.
Right. I just want to throw out one name that I think people should trade for immediately. And I think that I think the price is just cheap enough to where if you get him, you're gonna be happy in the long run. And that's Chase Edmonds from the Cardinals. So the only reason I'm saying this because it has been James Conner getting all the goal line touches. I get all that. They got like a really kind of tough-ish schedule coming up against defenses, and I think that they're going to probably throw him the ball more, and I think that he has a big opportunity to get more points through the air than he has been needed to in the past couple of games. The biggest problem with Chase Edmonds right now is the touchdowns, but that I think is the only problem, is he just doesn't have the touchdowns to back up his points, but he's had double-digit points in every game except for 2. So I think that's a good, solid, cheap-ish player to make a play for.
Fair. Good point. I think Melvin Gordon's a good target. Any sort of veteran who doesn't get the shine is a good target. Mike Evans is a great target. Melvin Gordon's a great target. Those are guys
Hunt too.
Kareem Hunt, another great target. I'm not trying to buy guys like CMC, even Justin Jefferson. I think you could make plays for guys. Yeah, don't buy. I mean, people like, go buy high. Nah, not for me. I want to take guys at a value. Hopefully, I still have a good enough team where, I don't have to do this. I'm not backed into a corner. So, all right. Well, that's all from me. I think that's all from Billy. Quickly, I want to tell you all, go check out the Patreon, patreon.com/the IDP Army. You can support the IDP Army there. Go to the website, idparmy.com or semiprofantasy.com. We have rankings up on the site. We have articles on the site. Go follow Semi-Pro Fantasy on Twitter. That's our new handle for the kind of the overall company brand. The IDP Army is still obviously a big part of that as well. It's kind of our baby right now. Appreciate your support. The season is halfway over. We will be back on Sunday morning at 11 Eastern to do our live stream, start sits, offense, defense, anything you guys have for us, talk DFS a little bit, whatever. I'll be back Wednesday night on this channel with Dave Kluge. We will be doing a live head-to-head underdog draft, talking about this week's upcoming slate, how we're ranking guys, how we're approaching the week, etc. Hopefully helping you guys win some money on Underdog. Go click the link in the description of this podcast and of this show. Right now, Underdog is doing a promotion. They'll match your first-time deposit up to $100. You put it on there, you can go draft. It's the best way to do DFS, in my opinion. And listen, if you want to get a free month of the Ultimate IDP Index, which is our flagship product, which the IDP Army is all about, I will give you that for 1 month if you do one thing. Well, a couple of things. You need to go sign up for Underdog. Okay, click the link below. Sign up for Underdog. Put $10 on there, they'll give you 10. Put 100, they'll give you 100. Whatever. I don't care. Do that, okay? They're going to give you money. 2, screenshot it once you do that you have made an account, and then go follow at Semi-Pro Fantasy. DM me that screenshot. I'll give you 1 month of access to the Ultimate IDP Index, which is currently the Black Ops tier, is the only tier that can get access to that on Patreon. That's $13 a month. So you're going to get free money from Underdog. You're going to get a free month access to our flagship product, and you're going to get to go win some money on Underdog. So when you become a millionaire on Underdog, you can go join the Patreon for real. So that was my long-winded way of saying thank you for being here. We appreciate the support. We will be back soon. Billy, tell them about what's going on with the OP this week. Let's get the people out of here.
Yeah, we got the game previews coming up this week, and we're also going to do mid-season fantasy awards. Not your typical most valuable player situation, kind of like what we talked about today. They're going to be very specific, fun awards for players. And we got a lot of shade to throw, so if you love some shade, we'll see you on Thursday morning.
Amen. Yeah, guys, gals, the OP podcast is really good. I describe it as Around the NFL for adults after dark. Okay, there is a little language, there's a little innuendo, there is a little fun to be had. We aren't bowing down to any sort of corporate overlords. I am the corporate overlord.
I was about to say, not yet, anyway.
Yeah, well, I'm the corporate overlord, and I promise I won't overlord you too much. So, all right, y'all. Like I said, thumbs up, subscribe. We will be back later this week. Keep the content pumping out. We love you, IDP Army. Goodbye.
Peace.
Can feel it, thunder in paradise. Can feel it, thunder in paradise. Can feel it, thunder in paradise. Can feel it.
Let the rain hit the sand. Build a house on a rock, got a plan. Gotta get stocks, keep them bands. Hear the clock tick, blades on the fan. Used to be mundane on a Monday. Now you have fun day on a Sunday. Cause you switching it up and you living it up. You ain't get it enough.